The first ever arena concert I went to was when I was about 8 years old and I saw the Spice Girls. Amazing. As I grew up, I then got really attached to Will Young and saw him countless of times in different arenas. But I don't think I ever really appreciated what it took to put a tour together like that. Have you ever wondered what it takes for a singer to keep their voice going night after night after night in different parts of the world? Or what goes into creating a tour that is about as demanding as a half marathon? This week we are joined by leading vocal coach Mindy Pack to get a sneak peek behind the scenes of touring life. From creating artist tour blueprints and working with the likes of Sabrina Carpenter and Chapel Roan, to travelling the globe with her legendary Vocal 911 kit. Mindy shares her application to endurance training, maintenance, and finding peak performance on stage. Mindy Pack, everybody. Mindy, you have said how your childhood dream was to be the world's first singing heart surgeon. For me, I wanted to be a nun or a librarian, and don't ask me where they came from, because that soon took a different course.
That's the first time I've heard that, but okay.
What memories do you have of being a kid and thinking that career was for you?
I mean, I was always fascinated with science and the body. I don't know why specifically that one, but I was always like, I love singing, I love performing. I didn't know if it was going to be a sustainable kind of career path, but fascinated with the medical side of things. I thought that would be very interesting. But then I realized that I did not love school. So I'm like, okay, the heart surgeon's out the door. But ironically enough, I'm still in school and learning. So it's just taken a different path.
Yeah. And if you weren't one of our leading vocal coaches and working with some really big names in the music industry like Sabrina Carpenter and Miley Cyrus and Justin Timberlake and Lil Nas X, just to name a few, do you think you'd still want to be that singing heart surgeon, or have you changed your mind?
Definitely changed my mind. I feel like I'm on the path I was meant to be on. My purpose and that is being fulfilled currently. So I still feel like I get a little bit of the medical side of things just because I work with a lot of different doctors. I'm in ENT laryngology appointments all the time, and I'm also a body worker. So, when I went back to school to become a massage therapist that specializes in structural for the performer. So I feel like from an anatomical functional side, I'm still in, I don't want to say medical because I'm not a doctor, but I'm still doing something that involves the full body anatomy, medical rehabilitation side. So I still feel like that's part of, what I wanted as a child is still being cultivated and moving forward.
Well, we're very glad that you do what you do so that you can come and talk to us. So thanks so much for giving up your
Yeah,
time.
no, I'm glad you find me interesting enough to interview.
Yes, yeah. When you're creating a performance blueprint for an artist on tour, what does that actually entail?
So it kind of depends on who the artist is and what the tour is looking like. There's some artists that want to go full in, and there's other artists who just like, hey, I just need a vocal warm up and that's it. Ideally, the customization is going to be really working with the team the way it needs to be done. So we're looking at nutrition, we're looking at the physicality, we're looking at the choreography, we're looking at the phrasing, and we're looking at like the acrobatics, not only vocally, but physically on stage. Like how much are you dancing? Are you moving? Is your stage set up? Do you have A stage, B stage? Are you moving half of the arena? There's a physicality that comes into it. We've put pedometers on some of the artists that I work with, and sometimes just in the spacing of the stage, you're looking at 13 miles a show, which is a half a marathon. So you not only have to have a physical endurance, training going into it, but also the vocal endurance to match that pace. So we're kind of looking at everything and how to come up with that game plan. We're looking at with the MD, we're looking at like how songs are placed. Do we have to change the keys? Just based on like the musicality of things. And then we kind of start into the demand. So ideally it's before touring starts, we have a prep phase that I work with the artist where we're going through each individual song. We're looking at the physicality, the body size, or the not size, but like just the body demands that are going in on that. So we're starting to prepare that. So if the artist is doing a back bend on stage, vocally and physically, I'm having them sing in that back bend. So the body has an awareness of where things are. So that when we get into tour prep, like we don't have to worry about the vocal because there's all these other elements that come crashing in and it's overwhelming for a lot of things. So we want to get the voice and body in a place that it recognizes before we add all these other elements and then we start going through it. I'm also working with the sound engineers where I get all the audio out and we're listening to the audio mixes, making sure that certain things aren't peaking or they're not working harder than they need to work. Yeah, there's just a lot that kind of goes into it that a lot of people don't think about. They just think the artist gets up there and sings, and it's definitely not that. They are an athlete. I look at it as like a football player. You have preseason where you do the training before preseason, then you have the season, which is the tour, and then you have recovery, which is after the season. And so it's just kind of putting together a customization that matches what that flow looks like. Because a lot of times, like athletes will only be focused on the preseason and season. But when you have artists who are on tour, they also have press, they have meet and greets, they have sometimes an album release, they have radio shows, they have one-offs that are coming in. So it's not like they have a lot of breaks. And so it's really kind of strategizing what that schedule looks like.
In your experience, have you noticed there being a hierarchy of where vocals sit? Is it a case of, that choreography is sort of set and we can't change that, so you just have to work around it and get your best vocal as you can? Or is it all kind of malleable and you could talk to the choreographer and say, you know what, that's actually not very helpful for them to do that whilst they're belting out this thing?
I mean, first, I'm always going to talk to the artist out the gate. Like, I'm never going to speak for them if they don't want me to. Typically, when we're brought in on rehearsals, then yeah, the choreographer and I will sit down and like talk and go through it, or like, is there a way to modify that? So we can still have that same element that's not doing this. And then if that is something that we have to have in there, then we modify the vocal or we come up with a different arrangement. I've yet to be on a team where we haven't had conversations because ultimately the choreographer and I and the team want what's best for the artist. And the artist is the one that gets to have the final say. So I like to do suggestions like, what about this, what feels the strongest? And then we can kind of like work through that or figure out what that pacing is like. Or if they have background singers, maybe the artist is doing this like ridiculous dance move and we have some of the background support vocalists come in to help support the artist. So there's ways of navigating around it and communication, but out the gate, that's what I'm always talking about with the artist is like, my goal is for this for you. So what is your priority? Because I want to make sure we're aligned versus me just being, I have to have the final say as the voice person, but it's not me. It's a collaboration, and that's where communication is really important.
Do you also help out the backing vocalists as well?
Yeah. Well, it depends. So I always ask the artist if they're okay with me doing that because I'm there for the artist. Most of the times the artist is like, yeah, totally fine because they're there to support. But if there's like a show day, say where the artist is very stressed or something's not working right vocally, then I just stay with the artist so that they feel that support that's there. So it's a give and take. But yes, usually I will help the backing vocalist. I don't superimpose myself on it, but I'll be like, hey, I'm here. If you want to warm up, let me know. This is the time it would have to be. Or if you need anything, let me know. I also travel with a kit of like voice stuff. So if you're like hoarse or you're running out of stuff, come see me, so it's like a win-win, but ultimately I'm there for the artist. So I always make sure they're okay with it either way.
And we're going to make sure we take a little dive into your Mary Poppins bag of goods, your toolkit a little bit later on. In terms of that blueprint, if someone has been on tour quite a bit, they have a lot of experience with that compared to someone who's new on the scene and it's maybe their first arena tour, how does the support change and how does the kind of flow of things differ between the two?
Oh man, I mean, that's a good question. It definitely differs. Somebody who's been on multiple arena tours, like they know what to expect. And I think they're more vocal about their needs and what they want and what they'll accept and what they won't accept. But also like a veteran who's out there, like what they did when they were 23 is going to be very different than what they do at 44, just from their body has changed, the stamina has changed. There's just other elements that kind of come into things. But I think they know what they know, and so they're more regimented. Usually it's like a well-oiled machine because they put team members in place that are part of that system. Somebody who's going into their first arena tour, like you only know what you know. And if your team hasn't done arena tours before, then there could be a lot of chaos that kind of comes into play because going from a 3,000 seat theater is very different than a 15,000 seat arena, as far as just acoustics, size, endurance, space. I have an artist right now who's on their first arena tour, and they've been so gracious because they've allowed me to like be a part of like creative and have like a decision of, yeah, that's not going to work, or we need to do this, or we have to elevate it this way. And so it's been really fun to be a part of kind of the creation of what the arena is and sitting down as a team where it's like, okay, well, so and so does it this way. So this, like this is how we plan out your meals. This is where it needs to launch in. This is when everybody needs to be out of your room so you can have that mental space, because a lot of times in the hustle, the dressing room space gets kind of chaotic and meet and greets and here's that. And it's like, no. And they've been very receptive. So I think it all just comes down to communication and trust. If the person I'm working with trusts you and you're just like, this is what I see, or this is what I suggest, having them listen, but ultimately it's their choice. But also from my end, like you have to be flexible because what works with one may not work with the other. Like you just have to have solutions to find what's the strongest fit and know when to press and know when to be like, that's not the hill I'm ready to die on for you. And I think some voice coaches get into that pattern where they're very rigid in what they think or what they do. And they don't realize or see this full capacity of all these other elements that have to come into place. And so I think for me, being able to look at all these other elements, being a performer, I've been a performer, I've been a music director, I've sat on a director's side, I've been a creative director for shows. So like I've kind of sat at different points. So like seeing kind of this whole space come together. And ultimately, again, we're all just trying to elevate the artist to have the best experience and the safest experience possible so they can have longevity in what they're doing.
I don't know how you feel, Mindy, in terms of working with a singer and then seeing them go on to do what they're doing, whether that's a West End show or in like a festival and they're 7 years old, whatever age. I personally feel very attached in terms of they kind of feel like my child in a way because you've worked with them and you've seen them grow. Do you feel that with these artists that you're working with, like this almost parental sort of protection for them?
Yes. I mean, yes, I do. I think it's, being an advocate for them always. I tell them that all the time. I am your advocate. If you need me to go up against management, I'll go up against management. I work for you. I don't work for anybody else type of a situation. So I feel like there's that bond between us in a way where it's like a trusted space. Because a lot of times artists, and I think it's just in life, not just artists, but like you surround yourself with people who you want to be able to trust and who advocate for you. And I think in this field that there can be a lot of gray area on that. So for me, I'm always there as that advocate, but for me, it's like pride. It's just like a pride of, being a performer myself and having that adrenaline rush of getting on the stage to see an artist that I work with and like the work that goes into them and like truly know who they are as a human and not as an artist, but like really who they are is incredibly special. And I hold that in a very sacred space because not a lot of people get to see that person for who they are. But to be a small grain of sand in a bowl or something like that, to just be one small piece or one small cog in the wheel, there's just a sense of pride that comes into it. So like there's times I was in South America this last year on a festival and festivals outside of the United States are insane. It's like so fun. It's crazy, the sheer mass of energy and people. But I remember we were sitting there watching it and like getting ready, and there's a lot of stuff leading up to the thing and seeing the excitement of them coming out and hearing their most popular song and literally thousands and thousands and thousands of people screaming back the lyrics. I burst into tears and the artist saw me. They were like, "What are you crying?" And I'm like, it was so overwhelming. And I'm like, was that just like so surreal for you to hear all these people singing a song that you wrote forever ago and just feeling that energy and love coming back? It's overwhelming for me to think about being in that position. So I think it's more of a pride for me of being a cog in the wheel that brought joy to so many people, that I was able to help someone bring joy to just the world, essentially. I don't take it for granted. I'm very, very grateful.
I'd also love your viewpoint because you're a singer yourself. Do you ever find yourself giving demonstration? Are you like, no, hold on, Sabrina. This is how you do it. You know, and getting on the keyboard and giving a demo like you might do in a vocal lesson with anybody else?
Yes, the answer is yes. Yeah. So if there's a situation going through on a vowel change or something like that, I'll automatically like, here it is. Cause singers, we're listeners. We are oral, we mimic. I'm a terrible riffer. So like if it's something that's going through on like a going down in, I definitely won't demonstrate that or I'll make fun of it, but I'll at least get the vowel, we'll slow it down into the vowel placement and then we'll speed it up. So yeah, so I'll give examples on it, or a lot of times it's just like fast adjustments that just needed to go through. Because in my line, being out on tour and going through it, like I don't have a lot of time like build a voice. If I don't have that prep time to like really go into it, then I'm in rapid fire, quick changes. Here's how we go. And then throughout everything, we're starting to build kind of the foundation. So it just depends on how much prep time I have going into a certain schedule or certain tour.
You mentioned at the beginning about keys and working with the sound engineers and the managers and all the medics and things like that. We recently have seen Chapel Roan talk about singing songs in lower keys than the original. So how do you assess what needs to go where and how it needs to look in terms of the set list? Is there a sense of Pink Pony Club is going at the beginning and not the end, or is there a structure to how the show is moving and you have to just modify along the way?
So a lot of times when artists go in and record these bangers that are in there, it's like a one hit thing where you can just go in and go in and go in and go in and go in. And so they're going to the peak of everything that they can do. But then when you start looking in context of putting that into a show, if you are going in at everything at 110% for an hour and a half, it's a lot. And so then you start looking at the flow of the show, the arrangements, how things can blend in from keys, because sometimes just melodically going from one song to another song, hybriding in is too much of a transition. So it's always just a conversation with the MD and the arranger and the artist to be like, is it there? And for me, it's like, I don't think it's a big deal. Like you're lowering it literally one step.
Yeah, no one's going to know.
And it doesn't mean you're less than. It just means that you're looking at the overall picture of the actual production of what's happening. And I always just say to them, this doesn't mean you're less than or anything else. It means that we're looking at the bigger picture and what's easier for you to navigate of performance of execution of greatness. Like if it's a one-off and you're doing it, say on Jimmy Fallon or Graham Norton or something like that, that's a different conversation of doing it in the original key. But when you're looking at it in context of the full show, keys, I think, will make or break you on how you go night by night by night. And contemporary music, I feel, has that advantage where we do have the flexibility of changing that. When you're in classical or musical theater and you have a score, you don't. But I look at musical theater and yeah, it's like a 2-hour show, but ideally, is it a one-person show? Is that one person on stage for 2 hours singing and talking nonstop? Very rarely is that the case. So you have downtime of coming through and like resetting. An artist like Sabrina or Chapel or Justin or whatever, you're on stage that whole time carrying it for 2 hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes, sometimes even 3 hours, depending on how much you talk.
I think it's also so refreshing to see artists explain that in interviews because it helps us as singing teachers show our students that too. So you can just pass that on to Chapel, that some random girl in the UK says thanks for telling us that, because actually it's really helpful. We've probably all seen artists hitting the treadmill as prep for performance. I know I've seen videos with Youngblood and I think Taylor Swift at some point. Why is that a good thing to do for endurance? Well, what does it actually do for them in terms of prepping for a big tour?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So endurance is something that I get emailed a lot on from management, like how do we get through this? The phrasing, the pace, all of that. So when setting up a tour or going through longevity, like I remember I was working with a girl who was prepping for Peter Pan, in musical theater, and trying to get in the harness and the flying and like going everything. And we would do our sessions running on an incline, because what we're doing is we're building out phrasing. We're building out a true breath support system where we're engaging the full body, and we can figure out the pacing of the show. So it's not about running full bore on anything. It's about staying up with an energy level that meets the beats per minute of the song so you can stay connected to it. So like I hate running. I don't know if you like running, but I despise running. I don't want to run. So there's other things you can do. I mean, you have ellipticals, you have bikes, you have jump rope. I mean, we've even done stuff, swimming laps, where we like get the songs and we play it and it's like going through and we figure out the phrasings of like when you take the breath. And I love it because you're doing semi-occluded vocal tract exercises while you're swimming, because you're literally blowing out the air while you're kind of building up that endurance component. So it's not necessarily running on a treadmill. It's about how you get the phrasing and the endurance and getting your heart rate elevated, because we're controlling what it's like to jump on stage for the first time and your heart is racing really fast and you're like trying to calm down. It's learning how to get your system to relax enough, but still maintain high energy of keeping that, the phrasing and all of that going through a 2-hour set.
And we had Jenny Morton on the podcast a while ago now, actually, and she was talking about getting your heart rate up to about 80% of its maximum. And this was to go with integrating the musical theatre skills of dance and singing at the same time. And she talked about just going absolutely nuts in your room, just dancing around and being a bit more aerobic about things. I think I'd be okay with that, because otherwise I would just be like, can I just bounce or power walk or something? Because, all of the other stuff sounds terrible.
We did one time where we pulled up Richard Simmons jazzercise videos, and because we have the YouTube plugin where you can like control tempo and stuff like that, we could speed up the video or bring it down, and it's super fun. So it's just about being creative and like just getting your body moving, because as we know, it's not just what's happening on the vocal cords, it's the full body stuff, and it's building up kind of the whole body in action. So.
If you've been thinking about joining the BAST community through one of our courses, but you just don't know which option is the best for you, then why not book your free Zoom chat with our very own Kimberly George, who has all the answers. Head over to basttraining.com/book-a-call/ and click that big blue button. That's basttraining.com/book-a-call/. Now, where were we?
Thankfully, singers are coming out now and sharing a little bit more of their vocal injury or vocal challenge experiences. We know Adele has been a bit open with what she's experienced as a singer. More musical theatre singers are doing that as well. How do you approach working with an artist who has experienced or continues to experience an injury when they're in high demand?
Yeah, I mean, injury is such a touchy thing. If I'm coming in first out the gate with somebody new, I want the full medical history. So I'm not only looking at like what's happening, are you vocally injured, but have you had a knee injury? Have you had anything like going through? Because, we know that knee injuries can lead into voice injuries and like all this other things, so I'm asking like a full history of what's going on. If there's a repeated vocal injury, then I'm trying to get down to either with communication with the doctor or the artist, when did this happen? When did it start? When did the voice start changing? And so then I'm looking at it like, okay, was this a phonotrauma? Were you in the middle of tour and just wear and tear, and then it was just like a perfect storm where it just hit? Are there habits that they're doing from smoking or drinking, or are they out partying at night, or nutritional things? I'm like really diving in to figure out the why and the how, if we can find that out. If we're coming in on that after going through the, like, if it's a repeated pattern, then usually we can fix the repeated pattern and make changes. If it's an onset where, we've been on the tour and then all of a sudden it's an injury that's coming in and they have to cancel, I can tell you right now, canceling the show is the last thing people want to do. And it really, really, here's my soapbox. It really frustrates me when we're at the venue and we're going through it and we're doing literally everything we can to try and get on stage, and then they end up having to make a cancellation. And then I get it from an audience perspective where it's like, hey, we're here. Couldn't you have told us earlier? Couldn't you have done it? No, we couldn't have, because we were literally trying to do everything we can to make it so that you can take stage. I can tell you right now, if the artist has to cancel, it's like the worst thing that they could ever like experience in the emotional side of it, because there's so many ramifications, not only from their physical health, from a team health, from a disappointment of team, from setting it up to then, your fan base being disappointed. I think people forget that the artists are human. And if you are sick, you are not going to go in for your job. And it's like they have an expectation that they don't have the same, they're not human. Like they're just a machine that can get out there and do it, and you look at like an athlete, like a basketball player. I think we like went through it, like one of the pro basketball players, maybe in an hour game, they play 13 minutes out of an hour thing. And an artist is not that. They have to be up there for 2 hours. But if a basketball player tears his ACL, everybody's like, oh, good wishes, da 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 da. And a singer gets injured and they're like, what the hell? You're putting me out. I got a babysitter. I was coming into the show today, and da da da. And it's like this whole thing. And so I just wish people would have some grace in that for an artist, like if they do have to cancel. But from a rehab side, if we have to cancel because of something's there and everything shuts down, obviously we're in talks with the doctors and the team to figure out what that looks like. And then the rehab space kind of comes into play. And then we come back out and do the show. And it's nerve-wracking. It's really nerve-wracking for the artist. I'm always like, let me take that stress. I'm not going to put you back on that stage if we didn't think you were ready for it. So let me try and take that burden. But when an artist gets injured vocally, it's very nerve-wracking to get back on stage and be like, is it going to work again? Am I going to have the same issues? Like, what's happening? And so then we're just triaging as we kind of go through it. So I just hope, if people see this from a fan side, that they realize canceling a show is the last thing we want to do. But if it comes at the cost of the safety of the artist, you have to do it.
Your touring toolkit, what you call your vocal 911 kit, is there for them and all the artists that you're working with. It's split into vocal tools, vocal remedies, and the homeopathic stuff. Can you tell us some of the things that make up these categories?
Yeah, so you can find them all on my website under the store portion, because I have it out there for everybody. But I usually say there's 3 products that I'm like, I can usually get a voice to bounce back with if we're having issues, generally. And that is the voice straw system. Straw phonation for me is like out the gate, one of the best things. So the voice straw system's always in my kit. I have a nebulizer. As we know, there's lots of humidifiers, steamers, misters, all of that. But a nebulizer is the only thing that's proven to hydrate the vocal cords. So I have a nebulizer system with different types of saline. So I have, depending on where we're at and how we're doing with the artist. And then I usually have some sort of mucus remedy. So I'm like really obsessed with alkalol, not alcohol.
Damn it. I thought
I know,
I
right?
misheard.
But alcohol, and I use it as a gargle if we have somebody that's like very, very phlegmy, or like postnasal drip. That helps us before we take stage. So those 3 things that travel with me, that's like a quick bag and all of that. Depending on where we're at, I have a medical device called the Beamer system, and it's a PMFR system that helps regulate inflammation, 30% more blood oxygen. So it like helps with altitude when we're jumping back and forth. And also I can isolate it. So I can flush essentially inflammation out of the body a little bit through blood flow. So that travels with us, and that's like game changer, especially when we're jumping altitudes. I love vocal zones, like going through like for just cooling stuff. So it just kind of depends on the artist and what they like. but I literally have everything. It's like a walking voice pharmacy.
It is. It's amazing. And
I literally just got a new like suitcase for it that like it's this big old gator case now that's just like everything's in one pocket and it just goes with me.
you could give yourself like an extra side trade. You could just go onto the street corner with wherever you are on tour, be like, would you like to come to Mindy Pack's pharmacy? And I've got all of these goods to share. You could earn yourself a nice little number on the side.
I know I should do it like in the middle of like, the West End and be like, what do you need? I got your goods.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's like the guy that wore the trench coat with the watches in the middle. Like, what do you want?
Yeah, you just open your coat. Black currant ones or the lemon and honey. Love it.
Literally, it'd be hilarious. But yes, I travel with that. It's like a funny ongoing thing. I bought the suitcase now because I travel with a portable studio. I take a studio with me everywhere we go, so I can warm up and do whatever. So now everything's condensed into one kit, which has been awesome.
I find it really interesting because whenever anyone mentions Vocal Zone, it's almost like people rush with an opinion to say something about it, or they're like going to the shops to buy popcorn to see all of the replies coming in. Lynn and I wrote an article on this, trying to actually get to the bottom of why people are so love-hate about them. And when we were trying to investigate, we didn't really find anything that was really worth its worry about them. So what's your response to that when you're using, offering them to certain artists and things?
I mean, I think it's like this, it's the same mindset for me as dairy. Like people are like, don't do dairy before you sing. It all comes down to your genetic makeup. Menthol could work for some, it may not work for others. And I think that's the component of it. Is I think people have this strong opinion based on their own reaction versus what's not. Same thing with straw phonation. Some people are like, it's stupid, it's a gimmick. And I'm like, how do you go against 20 years of science? Like maybe you're just not doing it right. And that's why it's not working for you. So I think it just comes down to perception and what your own experience is. And, some things may work for others that may work for me that may not work for you. I could drink a gallon of milk and be totally fine going out and singing. No issues. But you give me a lemon in my water before I sing and I am done. So I think it all just comes down to what your own genetic makeup is and your own reactions. And that's why I carry so many things where I'm like, try this, try this, try this, try this. Let's see what works. I don't like people who pigeonhole and they're just like indefinitive on certain things because it may work, it may not.
I have a question about stretch and massage and that sort of intervention. Is there a best time to do that massage and stretch? Or again, does it differ from person to person?
I think it differs. I mean, for me, like going through it, like day of show, I would never do anything very aggressive at all, ever. In as far, there might be like a stretch protocol that we've established where we're getting everything moving and stretching and working. I'll always do like the tongue stretch, jaw stretch, the laryngeal stuff, and like get things moving. Psoas arm, all of that, legs, just to get the body to open before on a show day. After a show or a day off, I call it the fluff and puff. Like it's more relaxation. So like the next day or day off, or even after the show, if they're just exhausted, it's more of like, say, a Swedish massage kind of thing where it's just lightweight, go in, relax, help you sleep. I think it depends on the body's needs, the demand of what's going on. But ideally on a show day, it would be, if I was going to do like body work, I would do it first thing in the morning after a physical workout. So I'd work out, then do a massage, then go with it. But a full-on massage I would try and do for a day of or after the show.
And when you're warming up your artists, what sort of time do you do that? And how long does a warm-up actually last them?
So when you're warm, you're warm. I don't like them over singing. For me, it's not going in and being like, hey, sing to me so I can make sure when we're having fun and this is my time with you. That's not what I'm about. So I'm about like slow, steady, get the voice to function, and then we're done. So if it's show day, it's like usually around a 15-minute window, essentially. If it's less, great. If they're feeling good. But if there's like trouble spots, it may take me 25 minutes to like get everything kind of balanced. But I kind of ideally try and keep that 15, 20-minute window open because I'll warm it up. So my flow is like, we'll warm up, we'll get everything balanced. The warm up is customized to the show. So if there's a hard part of the show, I will have a warm up that mimics that and I'll give a reference to it. So with all of them. So like Lumineers, he has this like really cool growl thing that he does that's kind of atonal that's up there. So I'll be like warming it up and I'll be like, "Okay, Wes, do the growl." And so then we'll be like, "Yeah," like going into it.
Mindy, you're doing so much to take care of other people on tour. I just wonder, what's the biggest challenge for you personally as a vocal coach, being away from your family and your life that you've built there at home whilst you're off with these amazing opportunities? But what's that like for you?
I mean, it's hard. It's touring is not easy. And people ask me all the time, they're like, the glitz and glamour and it's so fun. And yeah, it is. It's amazing. And I've had some really incredible life opportunities and experiences, but it's actually really lonely. Touring is not for people who cannot be alone. For me, it's like my friends are the artist. Like I'm literally with the artist, but at the same time, like I don't socialize and go out with the artist. And so it's like really kind of to find your tribe inside who you travel with and go through, but you have to be okay being alone. And that can be pretty lonely at times. You're missing out on family events. You're missing out on, like I missed out on my kid's homecoming and I missed out on my son graduating college because I was out on the road. And so there's a lot for me, a lot of mom guilt associated with that, where it's like I'm living the best life in what I've trained my whole life to do and be out here. And it's so amazing. But there is a personal cost that comes with it. And so trying to figure out life balance. And when you're home, it's about quality of time versus quantity of time. And so making sure we're really present and doing everything you can to be present in those moments when you're away. From a physical side, it's like when you're home, you're trying to get everything done and crammed into one space, doctors and whatever. I think I told you before we started, I was in Lithuania. I was walking to dinner and all of a sudden I blew my knee out and I tore my meniscus, and that was in June. And today it's October, and I still haven't had a time to go get that looked at because contractually I have all these other things through the end of December and I can't fly with a lower leg surgery for 4 weeks. I can't even go in and get it taken care of until I have some downtime. So it's just kind of like figuring out what balance is like and really finding the friendships that cultivate you. And there are people on there. Some of my lifelong friends are people that I've made from tour and they get it. It's hard to explain what tour is until you're in it. And then when you're in it, because you're working at the level that you're with, you really can't talk to people about it because of the NDAs and the contracts. And so when you find those people who are a part of that same NDA, you're bonded in a way that's great. But when tour's done, who knows if you'll ever see them again. So it's just like it's just this weird cycle that kind of comes into play.
So when you are finding yourself with a bit of downtime on your own on that, whether it's the tour bus or in your hotel room or whatever, what do you do to make yourself feel good and so that you can show up for the artist the way you want to?
Therapy. Like I'm a big component of therapy. For me, it's like I have to get outside. So it's finding new things to explore in wherever city or country we're in if it's safe to do so. That's why I'm saying I'm always in school. So I'm on downtimes, I'm trying to learn and do like online classes and like go through things. I'll do things where with my family, I'll call my son who doesn't live at home and I'll be like, let's go to lunch and we'll try and eat lunch together, and like just trying to find ways of like staying connected to go through things or talking to friends and that. So I think it's just being creative on how that can work and maintaining a connection, because it's hard coming back home and adjusting to it to then go back out, to then come back to go back out. And it's a weird, the sleep thing is a real thing, because when you're on an artist schedule, typically you start your day at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but you don't go to bed till after a show till 3 o'clock. So the times that I can talk to my family is when I'm in prime time with the show, so I can't really talk. And then the times when they're free to talk is when I'm asleep. So it's just trying to be creative and finding ways of staying connected.
What's next for you, Mindy? Have you got any more products in the pipeline? And are you jetting off somewhere soon?
Yeah, I leave tomorrow to go. So I have a bunch of tours that are finishing up here, and there's some things that are in the pipeline that I can't really disclose yet. Yeah, so there's two things that I'm like really excited about that's kind of been in the process for a year. And they say keep it close until you're ready to like let it out. And so yeah, I'm hoping that 2026 will be the year that we're finally letting some things out. So I feel like everything that I've been doing for the last 20 years touring and the people and everything like that's really kind of cultivating into what I'm trying to do for next year. So
And if there was one artist that you haven't worked with yet, which it narrows it down probably because you've worked with a lot of them. Who would you like to work with and put it out there? This is the calling.
oh, all right, if I'm gonna manifest it, like go through. I'm actually, when they say like you don't want to meet your hero because you don't want to be disappointed, but I love John Mayer. I love John Mayer. Like John Mayer soothes my soul music wise, and I'd love to work with him in that way. I think Adele would be absolutely amazing. I think our personalities would jive really, really well together. So Adele, I think would be really fun to see kind of what that's about. Those two kind of come off the top of my head. John Mayer, Adele. Pink would obviously be something. I've met her a few times. She's amazing.
Who would you like to kick off your list? No, I'm joking. Could you imagine? Oh my
Well,
gosh.
I'll just say they're already off my list.
Okay, yeah, bye bye.
I was suddenly unavailable.
Well, if John Mayer or Adele are listening to the Singing Teachers Talk podcast, you never know. Give
Hit
Mindy
me
Pack a
up.
call, please.
It's a good time. We'll have a good time, I promise.
Where can we find out more about you? Keep an eye out for the products that are coming in 2026. Fingers crossed that's manifested out there too. What's the best place?
Just my website. It's just my name, Mindy Pack, and on Instagram, just Mindy Pack, and with a Y, so Mindy Pack. And then yeah, voice draw if you guys want a voice draw. I think Bast has a discount code or something with that, so maybe put that in the link if they want, because that for me is a revolutionary tool that really makes a difference. So
Yeah, amazing. Oh, Mindy Pack, you are a gem. Thank you so much for being here with us.
absolutely. I love it. I love voice nerding, and I love Bass. So anytime you guys want to pick brains, I am all for it.
Oh, well, you've said it now, so watch out for all the emails coming your way.
Do it.